What's up, everybody? Welcome. My name is John Levesque, Senior Platform Evangelist for the Power Platform, and this is our first episode of a brand new show called Build a Bot. It is a patterns and practices workshop focused on conversational chatbots. Today, I am joined by my co-hosts, Kent Weir and Matthew Farmer. Kent, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself first?
Sure, thanks, John. So my name's Kent Weir. I'm a PM on the PowerCat team. That's our customer advisory team. And I'm focused on robotic process automation. So you might have seen me on the automated show and then also conversational chatbots with Power Virtual Agents.
Awesome. And Mr. Matthew Farmer, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself?
Hi, Matt Farmer. I'm a program manager in the same team, and I specialize in the Power Virtual Agent.
Awesome. All right. And so Matthew is our presenter today. And I think Matt's going to talk to us today about why chatbots, and more specifically, though, why Power Virtual Agents. Is that right?
I am indeed. Let me bring up some slides.
Cool. Okay. So the session is why Power Virtual Agents. And let's do a special shout out here. We are all members of the PowerCat team, which is actually the customer advisory team here at Microsoft, focused on business applications. As you heard Kent and Matthew say, they are focused on Power Automate and Power Virtual Agents and also that new awesome stuff, robotic process automation and UI flows and all that goodness. And myself, I actually focus on the breadth community. So actually the communities for both of those products. And so all of that is housed in a team that we call PowerCat. And so we want to just give a special shout out to all of our team members who are creating great content like this. Hopefully we'll be able to keep doing this, and you'll see this Power Platform YouTube channel loaded up with PowerCat videos. Okay, cool. Special shout out to them. Done. Accomplished. Matthew, back to you, sir.
Thanks, John. So, as we said, this is a series of videos we're going to put together for you, but we thought we'd start with kind of the why. Why are we talking about Power Virtual Agents? And to start with, there's really a piece here which says, why bots? Why are we talking about these now, and why are they important? Now, you may already know this, and this is why you got to this video, because you already know this. But if you're thinking about what does this mean for you, or you're thinking about how do I talk to my stakeholders, we're going to go through some points that I think is going to help you talk about that message. And shout out to this really awesome slide. This is in PowerPoint, and I totally love it and fall in love with the bot because of this slide. I think it's fantastic. So why bots? So it's not like bots have been something we've been able to do for a really, really long time, because the technology just wasn't there. Some changes in artificial intelligence and what we call natural language understanding have allowed us to suddenly be able to build virtual agents, bots, computer programs that respond to humans in the last few years. And it's an area that's now really accelerating with lots and lots of customer interest. The really great thing about it is when people are talking to bots, there's nothing new to learn. If you think about the different channels and ways in which customers interact with technology, normally there's a bit of a learning curve that they have to go through. But with bots, you're just talking to them with messages, and most people know how to do that already. Most people, the number one thing they do on their phone is use messaging apps or texts and things like that. And the way in which bots interact are in those channels. So it's a new way of communicating, but it's using a way of talking to customers that they already know and allows them to work with things in a self-service manner. And hopefully the technology is also providing gains for you as a business stakeholder, because it allows you to develop things at a higher speed. It's much easier to add conversation topics to a bot, for example, than perhaps adding functionality to an app. And also it can lower the cost of implementation because of it. There's some problems though. To start with, bots, certainly in the industry when they got started, were hard to create, expensive to maintain. You needed to understand artificial intelligence. You needed to understand that natural language. to be able to make your bot work really well. And that requires a lot of developers, data scientists, people like that. And then when you've got those people together, you need, they understand how to build a bot, but how do you bring the people who know how to interact with customers together? How do you bring in customer service people, HR, all those people who really understand the customer experience and get them working well with the technology people? And then there's the classic problem of implementing that technology too early without enough stuff that's useful. So, if your bot just answers a couple of questions, it's probably not going to get used very much. You need that bot to have a full suite of things it can do. It needs to interact with back-end systems and things like that to make it really, really valuable. So that's bots. So why are we talking about Power Virtual Agents? What is Power Virtual Agents? Well, it's part of the Microsoft Power Platform, if you've not heard of the Power Platform. It's a low-code toolset that spans across Office, Azure, Dynamics, allows you to build applications. And the sort of people who can build applications with the Power Platform, because it's low-code or no-code, ranges all the way from kind of really technical developers to people who are subject matter experts on something completely different. The Power Platform allows those people to interact with the technology and build new experiences. And Power Virtual Agents is part of that suite, allows us to build bots or virtual agents.
So Matt, could you build a bot that could be, say, hosted on a portal, like a Power Apps portal, or can you host a virtual agent inside of a Power App? Are those types of extensibility options available?
Yeah, absolutely. Good point, Ken. The point of showing these things together is there are hooks between them. So yes, you can take a Power Virtual Agent and deploy it in a Power App portal or an application. You can also take a virtual agent and interact with backend systems using Power Automate. And you can even take the data from that virtual agent and view it in Power BI. So there's a composite of these Power Platform services coming together to build experiences and build applications.
And so I would imagine that would allow someone to build a chatbot that could write to CDS, and then you might have internal employees that are then using that data from their Power App as part of that overall end-to-end process that includes external customers, but then also internal employees who need to fulfill some sort of a business process. Is that right?
Yeah, and that's a really good example you've come up with there of quite a complicated process that goes across a number of users and scenarios, but actually all exists within the Power Platform and all can be built quite simply with the tools the platform provides. So yeah, that's a really great example. Easiest way to show the tool and get a way to understand it is to jump into a super quick demo. So I'm just going to move across to a browser window. So what I'm showing you now is the home screen you'll see when you go to powerva.microsoft.com. So you can do this now and try out Power Virtual Agents and see how easy and quick it is to build a bot. What I'm going to show you today is not super advanced. We're going to go through the series and show you some complicated techniques, but I'm going to show you the really, really basics of building what we call topics. And they're the ways in which people interact with the bot. So when you go and start up your new bot, you'll get these 4 what we call user topics. There's also system topics that are baked in, but these are ones that are just set up for you to try out. And they show you how interaction with the bot works. So I'm going to open this one. And topics, you imagine, are the things that trigger off the bot. They're the things it's listening for you to, or the customer to say, and then act based upon it. So in this bot, we've got 4 trigger phrases, and it's all about when the store is open or closed. So I've got when are you closed, when are you open, store hours, and things like that. And then we have an authoring canvas. And this is, if you're familiar with a lot of graphical tools, this will be quite familiar to you. It's a step-by-step linear process, top to bottom, that shows how a user will progress through the topic when they trigger it. So let's do that now, and we can do that There we go. So we're going to connect to our bot, and we're going to trigger this topic just to show it working. So if I say opening hours, now you notice opening hours isn't one of the trigger phrases I've got there. But what happens, I talked at the beginning about natural language understanding. Open hours, the opening hours, sorry, the bot works out that opening hours is very similar to the trigger phrase and infers that this is the topic
Nice.
I should show.
And so the natural language understanding is actually built in. Did you have to do anything to make it do that, or was that something that
No,
came right out of the
that's
box?
exactly right, John. This is completely built in. So I talked earlier about how you need data scientists and developers who understand some of these AI topics. This is what we're taking away from you in Power Virtual Agents. You don't have to know that stuff. It's baked into the tool. So you can instead focus on the business value rather than worrying about the underlying complexities of deploying that.
Very cool.
Let's go to a different topic. Let's go to this one that's a bit more complicated, just to show you how some of the editing interface works. So this is all about checking store locations. So I'm going to go to the author and canvas, and we'll just reset the bot so we can test it again. Now, so this is asking are there stores near me, and you see we've got options for the user to choose. So we're going to just add another option to show you how the editing experience works. So I'm going to add, store near me. Now I am not near Redmond, Seattle, or Kirkland, which are in the Seattle area. I'm going to put, which is where I am now, which is a little bit to the east of the Seattle region. And you'll see what's happened is we've added this condition here on the right-hand side for the new option I've added. So I'm going to add some text. And you'll see here there's a number of different options I can choose. I'm going to show a message, but I can do things like end the conversation or call an action. This is something we'll be showing in a later episode. Here I can jump in and create a flow. So if I want to create a business process on this that says you've chosen the Fairham store, we don't stock anything there, or looks for particular information based on an API, looks up other data, I can do that with the flow, and I can use the connectors in Power Automate to make that happen. We'll show you how to do that in another episode. I'm just going to add some text for now.
See, John, you have your BFF there, Flow, Power Automate.
Yeah, I know. I'm getting excited. But you know what's crazy about this is coming from a Flow background, I noticed that Power Virtual Agents makes the editing experience even easier because he added that option up above and it automatically created a brand new condition for him. He didn't have to go and add that to a condition or add a second condition. The editor was actually smart enough to add that step in for him, which that's a pretty cool thing coming from a Power Automate background, you know?
Yeah, very cool.
Yeah, and you can totally see how this step-by-step process is something that, you don't need a developer to do this. You can absolutely put this in front of somebody who knows the subject, knows how to interact with the customers and builds out those steps. So I'm just going to attach this. I can pull the end of this conversation and attach it over here, and it aligns it all beautifully to finish off the conversation. So I'm just going to save it.
And I guess this would be one difference compared to some other alternatives with bots, where you might need to code all of these conversations. Here, you're essentially configuring them through like a drag and drop interface. Is that fair?
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, so traditionally bots have been quite complicated technology, and this is super simple and doesn't require that underlying knowledge. I think it's important to say that actually if you do want to do things that are quite complicated, we can still do that by implementing things like bot framework skills or using Power Automate to talk to APIs, but you don't have to. You can build quite complicated trees through conversations without having any programming knowledge at all.
And then like right now you're using like it looks like a test experience. It's called test bot, but I would imagine that once you're done testing this, that you can then go ahead and publish this to other properties. Is that right?
That's right. I'll show the channels experience that we have in a second, because yes, what you can do is take the bot as it appears here and publish it to a portal or to an app, or to even to things like Microsoft Teams. Absolutely. So you see, I've just come back to the chat interface. I've asked closest store to me. Again, not quite any of the phrases that were put in there, but it's picked up using the natural language. Ask me which store I'd like. So I'd like the Ferrum store. And there we go. It's given me the address of the store. Yes, that answered my question. And then it actually, in the end of conversation topic here, it actually has the ability to collect information about your experience. So you can tell, customers can tell you whether they're enjoying the bot or whether it's solving their problems.
Nice. So
As I said, sorry.
No, I was going to say, I noticed that Kent asked where this could be published to, and you had mentioned Teams and a portal and a Power App. And I think this answers my question. I was going to say, can it go on social media? Like, could it go to Facebook? And looks like the answer to that is yes.
Yeah, there's information here about connecting it up with Facebook Messenger. In fact, there's a number of different ones here, and obviously this list evolves very quickly in the product too.
Very cool.
So that was a very quick tour through that. As I said, we'll be delving into this in more detail as we go into other subjects, but I'll flip back to the slides now. So that was our super quick demo. Just a taster of what you can do with Power Virtual Agents. As I say, I'll give you the link at the end so you can go and try it yourself. Everything I showed you there, you can do with the examples baked into the service when you deploy a test one. So let's quickly talk about what we think the real differentiators here are for Power Virtual Agents. Hopefully you saw in the demo, you can create a bot really quickly, rapidly, without actually writing any code. And yes, you can make the bot a lot more complicated, but there's a whole plethora of scenarios that we talk to customers about that this interface allows them to get on and create very quickly. They can bring in business users and make those experiences super fast. As I said, you can have developers developing against it. You can have someone from HR, someone from customer service all coming together and really build that experience that is based on their expertise in an interface that doesn't intimidate them.
I think that's an important one. You can always tell when a developer wrote the dialogue in a bot. You're like, this isn't human at all.
Yeah. Or uses programming concepts and things like that. In
fact,
we do hackathons with customers, and what we encourage them to do is to bring that mixture of IT people, developers, and subject matter experts to hack on these topics to actually put together value in Power Virtual Agents and see what they can create in a really short time. But it's that, I think, is it Fusion Teams, you use the term, Kent, that makes that happen.
Yeah, that's the latest buzzword these days, Fusion dev teams. But no, it's all jokes aside, it's a really good opportunity, and we've seen customers implement this way for a lot of the reasons that you folks already mentioned. And then, oftentimes it's also a matter of, upfront, the developers doing, say, a lot of that work. But absolutely, you want subject matter experts to be able to tweak and change these bots based upon like the changing conditions that exist in this crazy world that we live in. And certainly with COVID, we've seen this, right? Like businesses are changing store hours. They're changing like how they deal with, say, curbside delivery or attending events. And as a result, like things are changing so quickly. That's where you don't want to have dependencies on developers. We're all developers here, but like we don't want to have these big queues to go change a string of text. Much like you did there, you added a store, and you're able to quickly do that. So for the same reasons, we'd love to get SMEs in the platform so that you can make those changes very quickly and address your customer needs.
Yep, absolutely. We didn't talk about it too much, but we will do in future episodes. But the worry with platforms like this that make stuff incredibly easy is quite often, you get pushback from developers and people saying, hang on a minute, does this lock us in? Does this mean we can't easily extend out to other services? And that's absolutely not the case. We can, the Power Virtual Agents is built on top of things like Azure Bot Framework. And it means you can take skills you developed with that service and run them in Power Virtual Agents so that you can effectively build extensibility that does almost anything you want. And as well, use Power Automate to do things like call out to APIs, call out to using connectors that are parts of Power Automate to bring in those common SaaS services to build part of that solution. So you're not locked into this. It allows you to extend out, and that's what we spend a lot of the time doing with customers once they've started building their bots.
Yeah, that's going to be one of the most exciting parts for me is all the Power Automate extension parts of this. Like, I've seen some very cool things where you can add authentication, you can create one-time passwords for users outside your tenant, you can translate your responses using the Bing Translate service before you return your answers. There's so much cool stuff that you can do that takes this whole concept to the next level when you bring in that Power Automate connection.
Yeah, and that's the other thing is you quite often see where you work with people on that is that stuff is quite fun as well. Seeing what you can do, how can I create a new experience? How can I, do something surprising and delight the customer because they didn't expect to be able to get all this information back in this way.
Totally.
And we showed it quickly, and we'll be going into more detail on it. You're not limited to just deploying this to a web page. You can deploy it to Teams, you can deploy it to Power Apps, as well as a whole bunch of other channels that are available. And what we didn't cover is also, very common scenario is I'm building a bot that allows me to do some kind of customer service work or, answers customer questions. The ability to then always have the escalate to a human option is there. If you're a Dynamics customer, you can do this with Omnichannel, and there's a built-in integration to do that. But also you can make a connection through an API call to different channels if you're not using that, and make that a seamless experience between the bot and where your customer service team, your human agent, picks up and manages the customer. Cool. One more, I forgot. We didn't even show it, but the really important to this life cycle of creating a bot and making it continually better for your customers is the analytics. I didn't show it there, but they are built into Power Virtual Agents. Also, you can pull them out of CDS, push them into Power BI, wherever you wish to have them, and use those analytics by looking at, what did customers ask for? What did we give them as a response? How did that customer feel about it once they'd gone through that experience? And then adding topics, changing topics to, constantly manage that customer experience and improve it.
Yeah, I guess and that's a big part of chatbots in general, right? Like, you're never going to predict exactly what your customer wants the first time you deploy the bot. And so that's where it's very important for people to use the approach like test and learn, to be able to say like, hey, what is working, what is not working, and then how can I tweak it? And that's a big part of the surveys that we saw earlier with the smiley face to the frowny face is like, hey, like this part of my chatbot people aren't super pumped about. So what do I need to go do to make those changes so that they are pumped about it? And I think that's what's pretty cool about this technology as well.
Yeah. Absolutely. I mean, it's the perfection is the enemy of good thing here. When we talk to customers about it, it's quite often get something out there and see how people use it, meet their need and then improve upon it is a great way to, because you can do it so quickly, you can do it rapidly.
You guys hearing you talk about it makes me want to make a John bot. I want to just replace myself with a bot. People have questions. Here's my virtual agent. Please ask here. And then they can escalate to a human if they need to.
Is the goal to see how long before people notice it's a bot?
Or
could be a
to see if I can effectively just stop working and let the bot do all the work is really the goal.
You're giving several people some ideas. So, we're the CAT team. We spend a lot of time talking to customers about this, and it's really, what are customers building? What's their high-level goals? Ken, do you want to start us?
Yeah, sure. So on the government front, and this would be government / I'd call it like health agencies. We've seen a significant adoption of chatbot-based solutions for those specific industries or domains. And one that comes to mind in particular is a government entity that is help servicing their COVID employment programs using a chatbot and live agent scenario, right? So that a whole idea of providing information in a self-service manner, but if you get into a point where you really do need to talk to a human, you have the ability to promote that conversation to a live chat with someone using omni-channel on the back end. And so that's one that's we've recently gone live with, but just really highlights the capabilities here across the integration of Microsoft products.
Yeah, absolutely. Another one kind of related to that, but slightly different field is the effect we see on retail. You know, particularly customers who have, or their customers are talking to them through the online channel or phones and things like that. And what they want to do is use bots, use PVA to actually allow their customer service agents to better serve the customers that really need it. So by automating common tasks like returns, order management, looking up product details, things like that. You said in the last one, you know, have the escalate to customer service when they need it, but the customers actually prefer it because they're getting answers to their questions quicker because the bot can provide those without having to wait in a queue and things like that.
Sure. And then another popular use case we do see is really organizational chatbots, right? So these can be chatbots that are meant for internal audiences. The previous two examples, we talked about external audiences. And in this case, like we see a broad adoption of this, just a few examples in particular, just come from the energy sector. One company in particular, we worked with them on a hackathon earlier this summer, and they were able to build 4 chatbots in a matter of 3 days. So when we want to talk about speed and capabilities, that's the type of momentum we're talking about here. And these were, you know, chatbots that would have, say, 50 different topics or types of conversations. They had integrated with Power Automate flows and be able to tap into backend systems like CDS, like content management systems, like DevOps, Azure DevOps, like Planner, Microsoft Planner, and the rest of the Microsoft Office stack as well. And so really interesting to see how quickly and how creative they were by being able to extend with Power Automate. Power Automate has over 350 different connectors, which means you can pretty much connect to anything. And if we don't have that, you can always write that custom API as well. So really popular use cases as well as those internal. And naturally with Teams and the recent Teams integration, we're going to talk about that in the near future as well. Project Oakdale, there's no excuse for people to not have bots now. Like this is something that if you have Teams, you have access to a chatbot. You can use chatbots now in your organization.
Yep. And you know, and the last one I'll touch on real quick is just some innovative experiences, right? New ways to interact with your customer in a personal way. A cool one I've heard of is actually a brewery that is building a beer bot to help you understand what kinds of beers you might like. And so it talks about, you know, different notes, maybe fruit or if it's based in wheat or rice or barley or what it is. And it guides you through an experience that will then make suggestion for you. And so that's a V1 that they're working on right now. And I can just imagine where it could go in the future, right? What if they then connect it to their IoT system, right? Right to the drafts, where then if the customer selects that beer, it's just gone ahead and poured and waiting online, you know, in the line for them. Like there's a lot of cool, fun stuff that can be done that takes that personal touch experience to that next level where it's I like to call it a wow moment, right? Where I've been to this brewery before, I've had their beers before, but an experience like this gives me something that I haven't had before, and it just takes something that I might be used to and gives a fresh, fun approach. And so definitely some innovative customer experiences happening as well.
Yeah, another quick example is a professional sports team that's using our solution as well. And, you know, albeit there's reduced audiences that can attend these games live, they're working on a use case where they would put up a QR code around the stadium. So if people did have any sort of requests or questions, they could just scan the QR code with their phone. it would pop them into a chat, and then they could start to chat with the bot in order to address some of those customer service questions that they have.
Nice.
Good stuff. So the demo I showed earlier, you can go and do that yourself and have lots more fun with it. You know, try out some of your own use cases really quick. Just go to powerva.microsoft.com and use the trial bot. And if you want this gorgeous slide with the cute bot on it, then go to your PowerPoint. It's available in the library there.
Awesome. All right. So couple of things. You heard Matt. Go ahead and try Power Virtual Agents today, powerva.microsoft.com. I'll go ahead and have that link down in the description for you. But second to that, also go ahead and get plugged into the Power Virtual Agents community. We have a webinar and video gallery where all these videos will live, plus more from our community and our MVPs. We have a discussion forum where you can ask questions if you need help. We have an ideas forum. If you want to see brand new features, that's where you go and ask for them. And so, yes, go and get plugged in there as well. That's going to be your one-stop shop for information so that you can make sure and get help as quick as possible.
And I guess one last thing is, so this is the first of many episodes. So we're going to try to target publishing bi-weekly. And so I believe next up, we're going to have Abby from our team. He's part of the PowerCat team. And he's got a lot of experience with chatbots, and he's going to talk to us more about tips and tricks with authoring and what are some of the best practices around authoring those chatbots to really give your customers or end users the best possible experience.
Awesome. All right, so stay tuned for that one. If you want to be sure to see it, go ahead and click that subscribe button and the little bell so that you don't miss another video. And then other than that, go ahead and click like. Go ahead and leave us a comment. Let us know what kinds of things you want to see next, and we will see you in the next video. Take care, everybody.